hot. I think they'd air condition this place. I almost died in that court. You know what you mean?
Okay, everybody is here. If you need anything, I'm right outside the door.
I didn't know they locked the door.
Sure they locked the door. What do you think?
I don't know. It just never occurred to me.
6 days. Should have only taken 2. Talk, talk, talk. Did you ever hear so much talk in your life?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
Well, everybody gets a fair trial. That's the system. I suppose you can't say anything against it.
Hey, what about that story about the knife? Wasn't that the funniest story you ever heard?
Well, that's the element we're dealing with. What do you expect?
I suppose. What's the matter? You got a cold?
Oh, it's these summer colds are the worst.
Maybe the horn works. Let's try your lights.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time to take our seats.
Hey, let's make this fast. I got tickets to the ball game tonight. Where do you want us to sit?
Well, I was thinking we ought to sit in order of jury numbers. You know, like 2, 3, 4, and so forth. That's
What's
okay
the
with you folks?
difference?
Neil.
I think it's reasonable to sit in the order of our jury numbers.
Excuse me. Mind taking a seat?
Sorry.
So go figure. A kid kills his father, huh? Well, what do you expect? That's the element. I mean, they let their kids run wild. I guess it serves them right, huh?
Okay, is everybody here?
There's a woman still inside.
We'd like to get this started, okay?
Forgive me, I didn't mean to keep you waiting.
That's all right. Just take a seat. Okay, listen, we can do this any way you want to, but I'm not going to make any rules here. I mean, we can discuss the case first, then we can take a vote. That's one way. Or we can just take a vote and see where we stand.
I think it's customary to take a preliminary vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's vote. Maybe we can all go home.
All right, let's see where we are.
Yeah, right. Let's vote now.
That sounds fair enough. Anybody doesn't want to vote?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of guilty, raise your hand. 8, 9, 10, 11, guilty. All those not guilty, raise your hand. 1, not guilty. The vote is 11 to 1 in favor of guilty.
Boy, somebody's out in left field. You really think he's not guilty?
I don't know.
I never saw a guiltier man in my life. He sat right in court and heard the same thing I did. The man's a dangerous killer, you could see it.
He's 16 years old.
Oh, that's old enough. He knifed his own father 4 inches into the chest. They proved it a dozen different ways. You want me to list them for you?
No.
So you believe the kid's story?
I don't know if I believe him or not. Maybe I don't.
Why'd you vote not guilty for it?
Well, there were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first.
You said it was easy for me.
No one.
Just because I voted fast, I think the kid is guilty. You can talk for 100 years, you're not going to change my mind.
I don't want to change your mind. I just want to talk about it for a little bit. I mean, this boy has been kicked around all his life. You know, growing up in a slum, his mother's dead since he was 9 years old. He spent a year and a half in reform school while his father served a jail term for forgery. That's not a very good head start. I mean, you know how these slum kids get this way. We kick them in the head once a day, every day. I just think we owe them a few words, that's all.
I don't mind telling you this, mister. We don't owe that kid a thing. He got a jury trial. You know how much those trials cost? He's lucky he got one. And now all of a sudden, what, we're supposed to believe his story? I mean, knowing what he is, where he comes from? Give me a break. I've lived among those people my whole life. You can't trust a word they say. They're born liars, and you know it.
I don't know that. What a terrible thing for a person to believe. I didn't know that dishonesty was a group characteristic.
all right. It's not Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
What this man says is a terrible thing.
Look, we need to stop arguing here and behave like civilized people. If we're going to talk about this case, let's discuss the facts.
Right. Okay, that's a good point. No, look, we've got a job to do here, so let's just get it done, okay?
I may have an idea. I'm just thinking out loud, but it seems to me that it's up to us to convince this gentleman that we're right and he's wrong. Maybe if we each took a minute or two, you know, it's just a quick thought.
That sounds fair enough to me. Suppose we go once around the table and order jury numbers.
Let's start it.
Okay, number 2, I guess you're first.
Oh, well, I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious. Nobody proved otherwise.
Well, nobody has to prove otherwise. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't even have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution, the Fifth Amendment. You've heard of it.
Well, sure. I mean, I've heard of it. I know what it is. I just thought he was guilty. Somebody saw him do it.
Okay, now let's get to the facts here. And I have no personal feelings about this. Okay, let's take the old man who lived in the downstairs apartment right underneath where the murders took place. At 10 after 12 on the night of the killing, he said he heard some loud noises coming from the apartment upstairs. He said it sounded like a fight. Then he heard the kid yell, "I'm gonna kill you." And a second later, he hears a body fall to the floor. He goes to the door of his apartment, looks out, sees the kid running down the stairs and out of the building. He goes and calls the police. They come and they find the father with a knife in his chest.
Yeah, and listen, the coroner did establish the time of death around midnight.
Right. Now what more do you want? You can't refute facts. Listen, I'm just as sentimental as the next person. I know the kid is only 16, but he's got to pay for what he did.
I think the boy's whole story was flimsy. He said he went to the movies that night. That's ridiculous. He couldn't remember the name of a single picture that he saw.
That's right. Did you hear that? She's right.
Yeah, and the old lady across the way, you know, she looked right through the window and saw it. If her testimony doesn't prove it, what does?
That's right. She saw the boy stab his father.
Okay, come on, let's keep this in order, okay? Let's go in order, all right?
Yeah, no, wait a minute, wait. So this lady is lying in bed, right? And her window looks right into the apartment of the father and the kid, and she sees him stab his father. It's 12:10 p.m. It all fits together, and she has known that kid her entire life. So she actually sees the kid kill his father.
Through the windows of a passing elevated train.
Yeah, and they proved in court you can look through the windows of a passing elevated train and you can see what's happening on the other side. They proved it.
All right, let me ask you something. How come you believe her? She's one of them too, isn't she?
Wait a minute. Who do you think?
Hey, sit down, take it easy. Don't let him get to you. Relax.
Calm down, okay? Let's keep some order in here. Okay, number 5, it's your turn.
I'll pass.
That's your privilege, okay? Number 6, how about you?
I don't know. I started to be convinced early on in the case, you know, with the testimony from those people across the hall. I was looking for a motive. I know that's very important. Didn't they say something about an argument between the father and the boy around 7 o'clock that night? I could be wrong.
No, I just said 8 o'clock, not 7.
Yeah, that's right, 8 o'clock. They heard the father hit the boy twice and then saw the boy running angrily out of the house. What does that prove?
It doesn't prove anything. It's just part of the picture. I didn't say it proved anything.
Okay, is there anything else here? Is there anything else?
Now, you said it revealed a motive for the murder. The district attorney said exactly the same thing. I don't think it's much of a motive. I mean, that boy has been hit so many times, it's practically a normal state of affairs for him. I can't see 2 slaps in the face provoking him to commit murder.
Well, maybe it was 2 slaps too many. Everyone has a breaking point.
I don't know. I think most of it's been said already. We can sit here and talk about this all day long, but it's not going to get us anywhere fast. Let's look at the kid's record. At 15, he was in reform school. He stole a car. He got picked up for mugging. He got arrested for knife fighting. And I think they said he stabbed somebody in the arm. This is a sweet kid.
Ever since he was 5 years old, he has been beat regularly by his father. He uses fists.
Well, a kid like that, I would too. But the kids today, you can't do a damn thing with them.
Yeah, you're right. It's the kids, you know. They don't listen. I've got one. He's 20. We did everything for that kid. What happened? Well, he was 9 years old. He ran away from a fight. I saw him and I was so ashamed. I was ready to throw up. I just told him right out, I am going to make a man out of you. I'm going to beat you into little pieces trying. Well, I made a man out of him, all right. When he was 16, we had a fight. He hit me in the face. He's a big kid, you know. Haven't seen him for 2 years. Rotten kid, you work your heart out for them and then you just... all right, let's just get on with it.
Look, I think we're missing the whole point here. I mean, let's assume this kid did come from a filthy neighborhood and a broken home. You know, what's that got to do with us? We're not here to solve the social problem that these filthy slum neighborhoods are breeding grounds for criminals. They are, you know it, and so do I. Children from these neighborhoods are potential menaces to society.
You can say that again. The kids that crawl out of these places are pure trash. I got no use for any of them.
Look, I grew up in that slum. I nursed that trash 6 nights a week in Harlem.
Now wait a minute. You're not talking about the same thing I
used to play in that trash in my backyard. Maybe you can still smell it on me.
Listen to me.
Oh, hey, come on, let's be reasonable here. Let's be reasonable. Let's not make this personal, all right?
There is something personal.
Come on, he didn't mean you. Let's not be so sensitive.
Come on, I can understand this kind of sensitivity.
Oh, come on, let's stop the bickering. We're wasting time here. Number 8, it's your turn.
I wasn't expecting a turn. I thought you all were supposed to do the convincing. Wasn't that the idea?
Check out, I forgot that.
Well, what's the difference? I mean, he's the reason we're still here.
Hey, wait a second.
Why don't you tell us what's on your mind?
Wait a second. We decided we're going to do this a certain way, so let's stick to what we said, okay?
Oh, stop being such a kid about it.
A kid? What do you mean by that?
Oh, you know what I mean. A kid. K-I-D. Kid.
Oh, look, just because I'm trying to be reasonable and keep this thing organized, you sit here. You think you can do a better job?
Oh, you're doing a beautiful job. Nobody wants to say
Oh, you need to get a better job. Let's take it easy, okay?
You hang your
head. Calm down. Mr. Lee, let's see how good you do.
If you want me to tell you how I feel about it, it's okay with me.
I don't care what you do.
I got a bad feeling about this case. I mean, according to the testimony, the boy looks guilty. Maybe he is. I sat in that courtroom for 6 days while the evidence built up. Everybody seemed so positive. I started to get a peculiar feeling. I mean, nothing is that positive. There were a lot of questions I would have liked to ask. It seems that defense counsel never got around to conducting a thorough cross-examination. I mean, he was appointed by the court to defend the boy. He didn't even seem interested. He let a lot of questions go by. I started to wonder if he was really up for the job. I mean, he let too many things slide by, little things.
Little things. I mean, if he didn't ask questions, it's because he already knows the answers and he doesn't want to look bad.
Maybe. It's also possible for a lawyer to be just plain stupid.
Oh, come on, you sound like you met my brother-in-law here.
I tried to put myself in the boy's position. I think I would have asked for another lawyer. I mean, if I was on trial for my wife, I would expect my attorney to tear the prosecution witnesses to shreds, or at least to try. There was one witness who allegedly saw the killing. Somebody else says he claims he heard the killing and saw the boy run out afterwards. There was a lot of circumstantial evidence, but actually those 2 witnesses made up the entire case for the prosecution. Supposing they were wrong.
Supposing they were wrong? What do you mean, supposing they were wrong? What's the point of having witnesses at all?
Could they be wrong?
They sat on the stand under oath. What are you trying to say?
Well, they're just people. People make mistakes. could they be wrong?
I don't think so.
Do you know so?
Now listen, nobody can know a thing like that. This isn't an exact science.
That's right, it isn't.
All right. Let's get to the point here. What about the switch
But,
knife they
wait a
found?
minute, I wanted to, I mean, there are people who haven't talked yet. Shouldn't we let them speak?
Look, they'll get a chance to talk when we get around to them. Just sit down and be quiet for a second, will you? Please. Let's talk about the switch knife. You know, the one that fine, upright kid admitted to buying on the night of the murder? Let's talk about that.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's get it in here and take a look at it. I'd like to see it again, Mr. Foreman.
We all know what it looks like. What do we need to see it again for?
I want to see this one too.
The gentleman has a right to see exhibits and evidence.
It's okay with me.
This knife is a critical piece of evidence. You do agree, don't you?
I do.
Good. Then let's talk about the facts, shall we? 1. The boy said he left his home at 8 p.m. after his father punched him in the face several
He
times.
said hit, not punched. There's a big difference between a slap and a punch.
All right, pin him. 2. The boy went immediately to a pawn shop where he bought a switch knife. 3. This wasn't an ordinary knife. It had a very ornamental carved handle. 4. The pawn shop owner said he'd never had one like it before in his store. 5. The boy said that he ran into 3 of his friends at 8:45, I think it was, in front of a diner. Am I correct so far?
She's right. Now listen to this woman. She knows what she's talking about.
6. The boy said that he spent an hour with his friends, and during which time each one of the boys saw the knife. Each one of them also came into court and testified that the murder weapon was the same knife that the boy identified to them. Finally, the boy said he went home at 10 p.m. Now this is where the state's version and the boy's version start to diverge. The boy said he left again at what, around 11:30, and he went to the all-night movies, and he got back at what, 3:15 a.m. to find his father dead and the police there waiting to arrest him. So what happened to the knife? I mean, the boy's got this ridiculous story that the knife fell through a hole in his pocket and fell on the street and he never saw it again. I mean, that's absurd. We all know what happened. The boy stayed home for a few more hours, and then he stabbed his father with a knife, ran out, even remembering to wipe off the fingerprints. Thank you. Everyone connected with this knife identified it. But what you want us to believe is that somebody else picked this knife up off the floor on the ground and ran up to the boy's apartment and stabbed his father with it. What, just to be amusing?
No. I'm saying it's possible that the boy lost the knife and somebody else stabbed the father with a similar knife. It's possible.
Look at this knife. It's unusual. I've never seen one like it before, and neither did the pawn shop owner who sold it to him. What you're asking us to believe is an incredible, impossible coincidence.
I'm not asking anybody to believe anything. I'm just saying it's possible.
And I'm saying it's not possible.
What is it?
Who here?
Who do you think you
What
are?
are you trying to do?
Where did you get that?
All right, quiet down. Let's be quiet here.
I was
okay?
walking around last night just thinking. I was walking in the boy's neighborhood. I found the knife in a pawn shop just a couple blocks from the boy's house. It cost $10.
Now listen to me. You pulled a pretty smart trick here, but you proved absolutely zero. There are maybe 10 knives like that. So what?
Maybe there are.
Well, it would still be an incredible coincidence for someone else to stab the father with the same kind of knife.
That's right. She's right.
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1.
It's possible.
But not very probable.
Okay, let me ask you this. It's one of the questions I would have liked to ask in court. If the boy bought the knife to kill his father, why would he show what was going to be the murder weapon to 3 of his friends just 2 hours before the killing?
Listen, all of this is just talk. The boy lied and you know it.
He might have lied. You think he lied?
That's a stupid question. Of course he lied.
Do you?
You don't have to ask me that. You know my answer. He lied.
Do you think he lied?
I don't know.
You don't know what? are you, the boy's lawyer? What are you trying to accomplish here? Trying to hang this jury? He'll be trying to get him found guilty just as sure as he's born. And who are you to cross-examine us?
Isn't that what's supposed to happen in a jury room?
Listen, there are still 11 of us who think he's guilty.
So what are you going to do about it? We can stay here all night.
It's only one night. A boy may die.
Oh, whose fault is that?
Look, how about if we went over it again?
Hey, did anybody make this kid kill his father?
No!
Did anybody force him?
All right. She's right. I think we're gonna get on with this, okay?
Well, what do you say? You're the one holding up the show.
All right, I've got a proposition to make. I'd like to call for another vote. I want the 11 of you to take a secret ballot. I'll abstain. If there are still 11 votes for guilty, I won't stand alone. We'll take a guilty verdict in with us right now.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, that sounds fair enough to me. Does anybody object? No. Okay, let's get your votes in there and pass them out.
Okay, we're out of here.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
All game.
Guilty. Guilty.
Supposing you answer me this. If the kid didn't kill him, then who did? The boy had a motive for the killing, the beatings and all?
As far as I know, we're here to decide the boy's guilt or innocence. We're not here to talk about somebody else's motives.
Yes, that's correct, but we can't help letting those thoughts kind of meddle up in our minds. I mean, the boy's father is dead, and the only motive we know of is the boy's. This man is making a very logical point. If the boy didn't kill him, then who did?
I don't know. I mean, the father wasn't exactly a model citizen. That came out in the closing arguments. He spent time in jail. He was a known compulsive gambler and a pretty consistent loser. He spent a lot of time in neighborhood bars, got into fistfights after drinking heavily, usually over a woman. So here's some of the possibilities. It could have been one of the many men he spent time in jail with. Could have been a bookie. It could have been a man he beat up. It could have been a woman he picked up. It could be any number of the people he was known to hang out with.
Guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a very important thing to remember.
Everybody's a lawyer. Why don't you tell us what your reasonable doubts are?
This is not easy. I can't verbalize it myself. Perhaps you don't understand that.
You know, I got a hand for you, mister. That was the biggest load of hooey I've ever heard.
I didn't bring it up. Somebody asked me who might have killed him. I gave my answer.
Everybody's a lawyer.
Boy, you said a mouthful. Hey, why don't you answer this for me? The old man who lived in the downstairs apartment said he heard the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." Then a second later, he heard a body fall to the floor, and then he saw the kid running out of the building 15 seconds after that. Now, what does that mean to you?
Now, I was wondering how clearly the old man could have heard the boy through the ceiling.
He didn't hear him through the ceiling. The window was open, and so was the window upstairs. It was a hot night, remember?
The boy was in a different apartment. It's pretty hard to identify a voice, especially a shouting voice.
Hey, listen. He testified in court, and he heard the voice, and he picked it out of 5 people blindfolded.
Oh, that was an ambitious district attorney putting on a show. Of course he recognized the boy's voice. They lived in the same apartment for years. But to recognize it from the apartment below? What if he was wrong? What if he thought the boy was upstairs and automatically decided that the voice he heard was the boy's voice?
Well, that's pretty far-fetched.
Yeah, he testified he heard the body drop, Then he saw the boy run out of the building. He saw the boy.
That's right, and let's not forget about the woman across the street. She looked into the open window and saw the boy stab his father. Now, if that's not good enough for you...
No, it's not good enough for me.
What about this guy? It's like talking into a dead phone.
Well, listen, the woman who actually saw the murder committed said she saw it through the cars of the moving L train. She said there were 6 cars, and she saw it through the last 2. I mean, she remembered the most insignificant details. How can you argue with that?
But what have you got to say about that?
I don't know. Something's not right here.
Well, supposing you think about it.
Okay,
Where's my pen?
I'm wondering, does anybody know how long it takes an elevated train?
Here, it's your
Go
turn.
by.
We might as well pass the time. Hey, wait a minute!
This is not a game.
What do you think you're doing?
Hey, you two, take it easy.
I got a good mind to go around this table and belt everyone.
Take it easy, take it easy. No fights in here now.
Did you
okay?
see him? The nerve, the absolute nerve.
He didn't mean anything
Come on,
by
how
it.
about sitting down?
This isn't a game. Who do you think you are?
I was wondering, does anybody know how long it takes an elevated train going at median speed to pass a given point?
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
How long? Just take a guess.
I have no idea.
What do you think?
About 10, 12 seconds, maybe?
All right, there's like a fair guess. Somebody else?
I think 10 seconds.
Yeah, about 10 seconds.
All right, let's say 10 seconds. What is your point?
All right, it takes an elevated train 10 seconds to pass a given point. Now that given point is the window of the room in which the murder took place. I mean, you can almost reach out and touch the L, right? All right, let me ask you this. Anybody here ever lived next to the L?
No.
Well, I have. I can tell you if your window is open and the train goes by, the noise is unbearable. You can't hear yourself think.
Okay, so you can't hear yourself think. What are you driving at?
All right, the old man heard the boy yell, "I'm going to kill you," and 1 second later, he heard the body hit the floor. 1 second, that's the testimony, right?
Right.
Okay. The woman across the street looked through the last 2 cars of the elevated train and saw the body fall. The last 2 cars.
Where's this headed?
All right. The elevated train passes a given point 10 seconds. That's about 2 seconds per car. That means the train has been going by the old man's window for 6 seconds, maybe more, before the body fell, according to the woman. He would have had to hear the boy yell, "I'm going to kill you," when the nose of the train is passing by his window. It's not possible he could have heard it.
What do you mean? Sure, he could have heard it.
Could he?
He said he heard the boy scream it out. That's good enough for me.
He couldn't have heard it.
Maybe he didn't with the L noise.
What are you two talking about? Are you calling the old man a liar?
I mean, what he says makes sense.
Ah, you're crazy. Why would the old man lie? What's he got to gain?
Attention, maybe.
You know, you keep coming up with these bright sayings. Why don't you send one into the newspaper? They'll pay you for it.
Why might the old man have lied? He got a right to be heard here.
It's just that I looked at him for a very long time. The seam of his jacket was split under the arm. Did anybody else notice that? This is an old man with a torn jacket and carrying 2 canes. I think I know him better than anyone else here. He was a frightened, quiet, insignificant man who's been nothing all his life. He's never had recognition. Nobody knows him after 75 years. This is a very sad thing. This is a man who needs to be recognized, questioned, listened to, and quoted just once. He had his name in the newspaper. This is very important. It would be too hard
to recede into the background.
And you're trying to tell us that he'd lie about a thing like this just so that he could be important?
No, not really lie. Perhaps he thought, he made himself believe that he heard the boy's voice and recognized his face.
Well, that's the most fantastic story I ever heard. How can you make up something like that? What do you know about it?
I speak from experience.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Is there anything else here?
Anybody want a coffee drop?
I'd like one.
Okay, let's get on with this. Let's
All
get
right.
on with this.
I think we pretty much proved that the old man could not have heard the boy say, "I'm gonna kill you," but supposing he did. I mean, this phrase, how many times have you used it yourself? Probably hundreds. Girls, if you don't clean your room, your mother and I are gonna murder you. Come on, Rocky, kill him. We use it all the time.
Wait a minute. The phrase was, "I'm gonna kill you," and the kid screamed it out at the top of his lungs. Don't tell me he didn't mean it. Anybody says a thing like that the way he said it, they mean it.
And how they mean it.
All right, let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy would have yelled out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood could hear it? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Right? He's a common ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
All right, listen.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'd like to change my vote to not guilty.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, that makes the vote 9-3 in favor of guilty.
Well, that isn't the living end. What do you base it on? Stories that this guy made up? He should be a writer for American Detective magazine. He'd make a fortune. And you sit in your damn room making up stories out of thin air. And you have facts staring you right in the face for crying out loud. His own lawyer knew it right from the beginning. His own lawyer. You saw it. The kid deserves a chair.
Does he? I mean, there have been times when a person's been convicted of murder and executed. Years later, somebody comes forth and confesses the crime. I mean, sometimes the facts that are staring you right in the face are wrong.
Hey, I was talking to him, not you. What about this guy, huh? What are you, boy attorney? The kid had a lawyer, didn't he? And the lawyer presented the case, not you. Why you got so much to say about this thing?
The lawyer was court appointed.
So what does that mean?
Well, it could mean a number of things. Could mean he didn't want the case. Could mean he resented being appointed. I mean, there's nothing in it for him. No money, no glory, not much of a chance of winning when it's a bad situation for a young lawyer. You'd have to really believe in your client to put up a good fight. But as you mentioned just a minute ago, he obviously did not.
He sure didn't. Who the hell could? Except God or somebody. Hey, let's look at the time. Let's get going.
Pardon me, but I have made some notes here.
Notes yet?
There is something I would like to say, please. I have been listening very closely, and it seems to me that this gentleman here, he has a very good points to make. From what was presented at the trial, the boy looks guilty, but if we go deeper...
Oh, come on.
I have something I would like to say, if you don't mind. We assume the boy committed murder. He stabbed his father in the chest and ran away. That was at 10 after 12. Now, how was he caught by the police? He returned home at 3 o'clock in the morning and was captured by the two detectives waiting in the hallway. My question is, if he had killed his father, why did he come home 3 hours later? Wouldn't he be afraid of getting caught?
Look, he came home to get his knife. It's not nice to leave knives sticking in people's chests.
Listen, I think that the boy knew that there were several people who could identify him with this knife, and so he came back to try to get it before the police arrived.
Sure.
But if he knew the knife could be identified, why did he leave it there in the first place?
Well, I assume that he ran out in a state of panic, and then after he calmed down, he went back and tried to retrieve the knife.
Well, that then depends on your definition of panic. If he was calm enough to see to it that there were no fingerprints left on the knife, where did this panic start and where did it end? If I were the boy and I had killed my father, I would not have come back home 3 hours later. I would stay away. I would be afraid the police would be there, knife or no knife.
Listen, you voted guilty, didn't you? Which side are you on?
I don't think I need to be loyal to one side or the other. There are questions I would like to ask. The other question I have is the lady, the woman across the street. She testified that at the moment of the killing, which is a couple of seconds after the L train went, she screamed and she went to telephone the police. Now, the boy would most certainly have heard the scream and know that somebody saw something. I don't think he would have gone back had he been the murderer.
Well, look, 2 points. One, maybe in his state of panic he didn't hear the scream. Maybe it wasn't that loud. And 2, maybe he heard it, but he didn't associate it with his own actions. You know, in these kinds of neighborhoods, screams are pretty commonplace.
Right. There's your answer.
Maybe. Maybe he did stab his father. Didn't hear the woman scream across the street. Did run out in a panic. Did calm down 3 hours later. Did come back to collect the knife, risking getting caught by the police. Maybe all those things are true. Maybe they're not. I think there's enough doubt here to make us wonder if the boy was even there during the time of the murder.
Doubt? What kind of doubt are you talking about? Doubt that the old man didn't see the kid, didn't run down the hallway to see the kid beaten out of the building? He's just saying he did to be important?
Did the old man say he ran down the hallway?
Ran, walked, what the hell the difference? He got there, didn't he?
I don't see how he could have run.
Well, he said he went from the bedroom to the front door.
Oh, wait a minute. Where's the bedroom again?
Down the hall somewhere. I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that?
No, Mr. Foreman, I'd like to see a diagram of the apartment again.
Hey, why don't we have him run the trial over again so you can get everything straight?
Mr. Foreman.
I hear you.
What do we need to see this again for? Why are you the only one that wants to see exhibits
Hey,
all
I
the
want to
time?
see this one too.
Yeah, and I want to stop wasting time.
Are we going to start talking about how the body fell? And all that
No.
kind of-
We're going to find out how an old man who's had 2 strokes in the last 3 years and walks with a pair of canes can get from his bedroom to the front door in 15 seconds?
He said 20 seconds.
He said 15.
Oh, how long? How does he know how long 15 seconds is? You can't determine that kind of thing.
He said 15. He was very sure of it.
He's an old man. You saw him. Half the time he was confused. How could he be positive about anything?
Is this what you wanted? Yeah, thank you. All right, may I?
Hey, do me a favor, wake me up when this damn thing is over with, will you?
All right. Here's a diagram of the apartment in which the murder took place. The old man's apartment is directly beneath it, exactly the same. Okay. Here's the L tracks. The bedroom, living room, kitchen, bathroom. Here's the hallway. Now, the old man said that he got up, went through the bedroom door, down the hall, opened the door just in time to see the boy racing down the stairs. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's the story.
Okay, 15 seconds after he heard the body fall.
Correct.
Okay. Bedroom is 15 feet wide, so maybe 10 feet from the bed to the bedroom door. The hallway is 43 feet. He'd have to get up, get his canes, open the bedroom door, walk 43 feet down the hallway, and open the front door, all in 15 seconds. You think he could do that?
Sure he could have done it.
He could only walk very slowly. They had to help him into the witness chair.
Now, you make it sound like a long walk. It's not.
For an old man with 2 canes, it's a long walk.
What do you think you're doing?
I'm going to pace off 10 feet the distance between the bed and the bedroom door. Let's see how long it took him.
Oh, you're crazy. You can't recreate a thing like
Let him
that.
do it. It could be an important point.
Oh, it's a ridiculous waste of time.
All right, here's the bedroom door. How long do you think it is from that bedroom door to this chair here?
I'd say 20 feet.
Yeah, about 20 feet.
That sounds about right. Okay, so from here to the chair and back is 40 feet. That's a little bit shorter than the hallway, right?
Maybe a few feet, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is absurd. What makes you think you can recreate this?
Do you mind if I try? According to you, it'll just take 15 seconds. I think we can spare that. All right. Who's got a watch with a second hand?
I have.
Okay, I want you to keep the time. Now, when you stamp your foot, that'll be the body falling. Start the clock then. We'll say that the old man kept his canes right next to his bed, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm ready.
Go!
I'm waiting for the second hand to reach 60.
Speed it up, he went faster than that.
This is more quick than the old man walk in the courtroom already.
I can go faster if you want me to. Stop.
Right.
What's the time?
15, 20, 30, 32 seconds exactly.
32 seconds.
All right. I think this is what happened. The old man heard the boy and the father fighting a couple hours earlier. He's lying in bed. He hears the body hit the floor, hears a woman across the street scream, tries to get to the front door, hears somebody racing down the stairs, and assumes it's the boy.
That's possible.
Assumes. Now listen to me, you people. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display takes the cake. Tell them, will you? You know, you come in here with your heart bleeding all over the floor, talking about slum kids and injustice, and you make up these wild stories, and you've got some soft-hearted people listening to you. Well, I'm not. I'm getting sick of it. What's the matter with you people? Every single one of you knows this kid is guilty. He's got a bird. We're letting him slip through our fingers here.
Slip through our fingers? What are you, his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Oh, I bet you'd like to pull the switch.
But this kid, you bet I would.
I feel sorry for you.
Don't start with
What
me.
it must feel like to want to pull the switch.
Shut up.
You're a sadist.
Shut up.
You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts.
Shut up.
Ever since we walked in here, you've been behaving like a self-appointed public avenger.
I'm warning you now, you shut up. Son of a bitch. Let me go. I'll kill him. I'll kill him.
You don't really mean you're going to kill me, do you?
Anything wrong in here? I heard some noise here.
No, everything's all right. Everything's all right. Here, we're finished with this.
What are you all staring at?
So we're still nowhere. Who's got an idea?
Pardon me. This fighting. This is not why we are here, to fight. This is what I always thought is a remarkable thing about democracy, that we have been notified to come down to this place and decide on a man's guilt or innocence. The man we have not known before. We have nothing to gain or lose by our verdict. We should not make this a personal thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe we should try for another vote, Mr. Foreman.
All right, it's all right with me. Anybody doesn't want to vote?
Great. Maybe we can follow this one up with a little dancing and refreshments.
I want an open ballot. Let's call out our votes. Let's see who stands where.
All right, that sounds fair enough. I guess I'll call you out by jury numbers. I vote guilty. Number 2.
Not guilty.
Number 3.
Guilty.
Number 4.
Guilty.
Number 5.
Not guilty.
Number 6.
Not guilty.
Number 7.
Guilty.
Number 8.
Not guilty.
Number 9.
Not guilty.
Number 10.
Guilty.
Number 11.
Not guilty.
Number 12.
Guilty?
6 to 6.
I'll get you people. I mean, come on. A kid like that?
The kind of boy he is has nothing to do with it. It's the facts that should determine the case.
Oh, don't talk to me about facts. I'm so sick of facts. You can twist them any way you want.
Well, this gentleman has been trying to untwist them for us. Now, if you would just quit shouting at the top of your lungs.
The vote is 6-6, okay?
Look, I'm ready to walk back into court right now and declare a hung jury. There's no point in this going on anymore.
Hey, I'm ready to go in there with you too and see the judge. Let the kid take his chances with 12 other people.
You still don't think there's room for reasonable doubt?
No, I don't.
Excuse me, maybe you don't understand the term reasonable doubt.
I don't understand what? What? What are you trying to say? What about this woman? She comes running over here for her life, and before she can take a deep breath, she's trying to tell us how to run the show. The arrogance of this woman.
Hey, nobody's asking you where you came from.
I came from right here.
Or where your father came from. Maybe we should learn a few things from people who've come running here. Maybe they've learned something that we have not. We're not so perfect, you know.
It's okay, thank you. It's all right. I'm used to this.
It's not all right. Now apologize to her.
Okay. I apologize if that's what you want.
Okay, look, let's stop arguing here. Does anybody have something constructive to say?
Yep. I'd like to go over something, if you don't mind. An important part of the police testimony was the fact that the boy, after claiming he was at the movies, couldn't name any of the pictures or the stars that were in them.
That's correct. That was the only alibi the boy offered, and he couldn't back it up with any detail.
All right, put yourself in the boy's place. Do you think you'd be able to remember such details after an upsetting experience like getting struck in the face by your father?
I think so, if there were any details to remember.
Okay, according to the police testimony, he was questioned in the kitchen of his apartment while the body of his father is lying on the floor. I mean, do you really think he could remember details under such circumstances?
I do. If there were any details to remember, but in this case there are no details to remember because the boy wasn't at the movies that night.
Under great emotional strain?
Under great emotional strain.
All right, in court, he could name all the movies and the stars that were in them.
Well, you know, his lawyer made a really big deal out of that. You know, he had 3 months between the time of the murder and the trial to memorize them. I'm going to stay with the policeman who interrogated him on the night of the murder when he couldn't remember a single detail, great emotional strain or not.
All right, let me ask you a personal question.
Very well.
Where were you last night?
Home.
What about the night before?
What is this?
That's all right. The night before, I went to my office, and I got home at 8:30, and I went right to bed.
And the night before that?
The night before that was Tuesday. Yes, and my husband and I, we went to a bridge tournament. We played bridge.
And what about Monday night?
Hey, when you get around to New Year's Eve, you let me know.
All right, Monday night, we went to the movie.
Oh, what'd you see?
The Scarlet Circle. It was a very tricky whodunit.
And who was the star?
Barbara Long, I think. The pretty brunette one. No, Barbara Lane, something like that.
And who was the co-star?
Well, I haven't seen him in very many movies. He must be a relative unknown.
And you weren't under any emotional stress, were you?
No, I wasn't.
I think the point's been made.
Big point.
It is a big point.
What, just because the kid can't remember the name of a 2-bit movie star means he was at the movies?
No, but it does indicate that no one can prove he wasn't. The boy could have gone to the movies and forgot what he saw. It's possible. If it's perfectly normal for this woman to forget a few details, then it's perfectly normal for the boy. Being accused of murder doesn't give him an infallible memory.
You can talk until your tongue is dragging on the floor, lady. The fact of the matter is, this boy is guilty, period. Period. Know what I mean, my friend? Hey, where's those cough drops?
They're all gone, my friend.
Okay, wait a minute. I think we're missing something here. Okay, you know, during the court trial, that thing with the psychiatrist, it just went on forever.
Yeah, don't get me started on the psychiatrist. Those guys will fill your head with a bunch of garbage. I rent space in my garage for 3 psychiatrists. They're all crazy as hell.
Listen, there's a point I'm trying to make here. Do you mind?
I would not give you a nickel for a psychiatrist's testimony.
Would you let the man talk?
Yeah, he
You
has
can
a
give
right.
us 5 minutes on the uselessness of psychiatry when he's finished.
Look, the point I was trying to make here is that the psychiatrist definitely said that this boy showed strong homicidal tendencies. I mean, he said he was capable of committing murder. Now, he showed the test and everything, and he indicated that this boy definitely was a killer type. Am I right?
That's correct. He also suggested the boy had a tendency towards paranoia.
Right. Look, let's not forget. We're talking about a boy who always had murder on his mind.
On his subconscious mind.
I beg your pardon. In
I
discussing,
beg your pardon. What are you being so goddamn polite about?
for the same reason you are not. This was the way my mother brought me up. In discussing murder potential, I think we should all remember that many of us are capable of committing murder, but few of us do. We impose control upon ourselves to prevent it. The most these psychiatric tests can accomplish is to tell us that someday a particular person may commit a murder. That's all. They prove nothing.
Well, then why are they admitted into evidence?
Well, they have many uses. And in this case, it added to the general impression that the prosecutor was trying to create. If we 12 would take the same test, you may find that 1 or 2 of us may have an unconscious desire to kill and the potential to carry them out. To say that a person is capable of murder does not mean that he has committed a murder.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that he hasn't committed a murder, right?
You were the one who said, and I quote, "I wouldn't give you a nickel for a psychiatrist's testimony."
Man, you are walking on thin ice.
Excuse me, could I see that knife a second?
You know that's not the knife that the kid used to kill the father?
It
The
doesn't-
guard already took that out, don't you remember?
Doesn't matter, it's not identical. It does the same thing if you stab someone with it. I wanted to say there's been something that's been bothering me a little. It's about the stab wound and the downward angle of it, you know?
Oh, don't tell me we're going to start that again. They went over it and over it in court.
I know they did, but I don't go along with it. The boy is 5'7" tall. His father was 6'2". That's a difference of 7 inches. It's a very awkward thing to stab down into the chest of someone who's half a foot taller than you.
Look. You obviously need to see it again. So I'm going to give you a demonstration. Somebody get up. Okay. Now watch this. I don't want to have to do it again. Is that 6 inches?
That's more than 6 inches.
Let it be more. Come on, calm down. Nobody's hurt, are they?
No, nobody's hurt.
That's not funny. What's the matter with you?
Okay, take a look at it. There's your angle. Down and in. That's how I stab a taller man in the chest, and that's how it was done. Take a look at it and tell me I'm wrong.
Down and in, I guess there's no argument.
Hey, wait a minute. Can I have that? I hate these things. I grew up with them.
Did you ever see them used in fights?
Too many of them. On my stoop, in the backyard, and a lot across the street, switch knives came with the neighborhood. Funny, I wasn't thinking about this before, but then again, you try and forget these kind of things. You don't hold this knife that way. In order to stab downwards, you need to change your grip.
Well, how do you use it?
Underhanded, like that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. That's why they made these knives like this.
All right, we all agree the boy was pretty handy with the knife, right?
Yeah.
Do you think he would have made the kind of wound that killed his father?
No, not with the experience he would have had with these knives. He would have gone for it underhanded.
Oh, how do you know? What, were you in the apartment when the father was killed?
No, but no one else was.
Look, I don't think we can know what kind of wound the boy would or wouldn't make just because he was familiar with the knife.
That's right. She's absolutely right.
What do you think? I don't.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know!
What about you?
I'm a little sick of this thing. All this talking has got us nowhere fast. I'm going to break this up and go home. I'm going to vote not guilty.
You're what?
You heard me. I've had enough.
What do you mean you've had enough? That's no answer.
Listen, you just take care of
He is
yourself.
right. That is not an answer. What kind of a man are you? You sat here and vote guilty with everyone else because you have some goddamn ball game ticket burning a hole in your pocket. And now you want to change your vote to not guilty because you're sick of talking. I don't think you have the right to play like that with a man's life. This is a terrible and nasty thing to do.
Listen, you can't talk to me like
I can't talk to you like that. If you want to vote not guilty, then do it because you're convinced he's not guilty. If you think he's guilty, then vote that way. Or don't you have the guts? The guts to do what you think is right.
Listen!
Guilty or not guilty?
I told you, not guilty.
Why?
God damn it, I don't have to explain it to you.
You have to tell me. Why?
He is not guilty.
Mr. Foreman, I'd like to call for another vote.
Okay, there's been a call for another vote. Does anybody object?
No.
Okay, I think the best way to do this then is by a raise of hands, okay? All those in favor of not guilty, please raise your hand. 8, 9, not guilty. All those in favor of guilty, raise your hand. 3, guilty. The vote is now 9-3 in favor of acquittal.
I don't understand you people. How can you believe this kid is not guilty? How can you believe he's innocent? Let's talk facts. You know how these people lie, right? They're born to lie. No, they don't know what the truth is. Believe me, you know it already. You don't need me to tell you. They get to drinking and bada bing, somebody's lying in the gutter. They don't care. You can't blame them. You can't blame them because that's how they are by their very nature. They are violent. They're ignorant and violent, and families don't mean anything to them. They breed like animals. Mothers, fathers. What's going on here? Where's everybody going? They breed like animals. Somebody ends up dead. Fine, somebody ends up dead. No big deal. Yeah, and this kid we got here, oh boy, we're lucky we got one. That's good, because
Oh, shut up!
you should listen to me. You smart geniuses better listen to me. They will cut us up. That is their intention, to cut us up. We gotta get them before they get us. This is not a game. We are in danger. This kid we got now, that's good, we got one. Say take care of him before his kind get us. And I do not give a damn about the law.
Maybe if you just quiet it down.
Why should I? You should listen to me. Listen up. You cannot trust these people. They are violent by nature. Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you something.
Now stop all this, you asshole. I've had enough of your crap. If you open your mouth one more time, I'm going to crack your skull.
Listen to me, I'm trying to tell you something.
We've heard enough. Now why don't you sit down and shut your filthy mouth?
It's really hard to keep personal prejudice out of a thing like this. And when you run into it, prejudice obscures the truth. Well, I don't think any permanent damage has been done here because I don't know what the truth is. None of us ever will, I suppose. But there are now 9 of us who believe the boy is innocent. Now, we're just gambling on possibilities. Maybe we're wrong. Nobody will ever know. But we now have reasonable doubt. And that has enormous value in our system. No jury can declare a man or woman guilty unless it is sure. Now, the 9 of us can't understand how the 3 of you can still be so sure. Maybe you can tell us.
Okay, look, I'll try. I think you made some excellent points. The last one about the type of knife and the stab wound to the father was particularly persuasive. But I still think the boy is guilty of murder, and I have 2 reasons. One, the woman who actually saw the murder take place that night. Saw it committed.
That's right. As far as I'm concerned, that's the most important testimony in the whole case.
And 2, she testified that she saw the boy raise his arm over his head, plunge the knife into his father's chest, albeit using the knife the wrong way.
That's right. She's absolutely right.
So let's talk about this woman. She said she went to bed at 11 p.m., and we know that her bed is right in front of the window. So when she's lying in her bed, if she just turns her head and looks out, she can see right into the boy's apartment. She can't sleep. She's turning and twisting for an hour, and then what? At 12:10, she hears a noise. She turns her head, she looks, and she sees the boy stab his father. You know, I think that's unshakable testimony.
That's what I mean. That's the whole case.
What do you think? How about you?
I don't know. There's so much evidence to sift through. It's a pretty complicated business.
I do not see how we can acquit this boy.
It's not easy to arrange the evidence in order.
Look, the woman saw him do it. What more do you want? Let's have another vote.
Okay, listen, there's been a call for another vote. Does anybody object?
I'm changing my vote. I say he's guilty.
Anybody else? The vote's 8-4.
Come on. What made you consider this more your personal triumph?
I'm the competitive type, okay? Now, here's what I think. I say we're a hung jury. Let's take it inside to the judge. There are some people in here that are so goddamn stubborn, we'll never get this done, we'll be in here for a week. Well, I want to hear your arguments. I say we're a hung jury. Come on, you're the leader of the cause, what about it?
Let's go over it again.
We went over it again! Come on, I want to get out from under this thing!
I think this might be a good time to decide when you have an ending point here. The time now is what?
It's 9:15.
All right. It's 9:15. I think 11 p.m. might be a good time for us to decide whether or not we are a hung jury or not.
Aren't you feeling well?
Yes, I'm feeling very well, thank you. But we're trying to discuss whether 11 p.m. would be a reasonable time.
The reason I asked was because you were rubbing your nose.
Well,
I hadn't noticed it before. Is that because of your glasses?
it is. Now, can we get on to something else?
I think this is important.
All right, very well. What?
I'm sure you'll forgive me for this. I'm sure you'll pardon me, but I was wondering, why were you rubbing your nose?
Oh, come on now, will you please?
I was talking to this lady here. Now, why were you rubbing your nose?
Well, if it's any of your business, I was rubbing it because it hurts a little bit.
I'm sorry. Is that because of your glasses?
It is. Now, can we continue with what we're talking about?
The glasses made those deep impressions on your nose. They must be annoying.
Yes, very annoying.
The woman who testified, she had those same deep impressions on her nose.
That's right, she did.
Please, just a minute, I'll be done. I don't think anybody here noticed this about her, but I didn't notice it at first either, but she had those marks, and she kept rubbing them in court.
You know, she's right. She had those marks.
This woman was about 50 years old. She made a tremendous effort to appear 40 for her first public appearance. She had heavy makeup, dyed hair, her brand new clothes. worn. But she had no eyeglasses. See if you can make a mental picture of her.
What do you mean no glasses? How do you know she wore glasses? All because she was rubbing her nose?
She did that a lot. I saw her.
So what? What's that supposed to mean?
Listen, the lady's right. You know, I was sitting right next to her in court, and I saw those glasses. I saw those marks right there in her face. You're right.
All right, she had dyed hair and marks on her nose. I'm asking you, what point are you trying to make here?
She had those marks, those deep marks.
I know, but I'm asking you, what does that mean?
Oh.
What else could it mean but having the glasses made from eyeglasses?
No, nothing else makes those marks other than eyeglasses.
What are you talking about? I didn't see any marks.
I did. Strange. I didn't think of it before.
Well, what about the lawyer? Why didn't he say anything?
There are 12 people in here concentrating on the case. 11 of us didn't notice either.
Okay, Perry Mason. What about the district attorney? You think he'd pull a trick like that, having her testify without glasses?
Did you ever see a woman who had to wear glasses but didn't because she was afraid they spoiled her looks?
My sister, every time we walk out the house.
Yes, of the district.
They would think she was gorgeous. But when she saw the kid kill his father, she was in the house alone. That's all.
Do you wear glasses when you go to bed?
No, nobody wears glasses when they go to bed.
Well, then it's only logical that she didn't have them on when she's tossing and turning and trying to go to sleep.
Well, how do you know?
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm also guessing that she didn't have them on when she casually looked out the window. She herself said the murder took place just as she looked out, and the lights went out a split second later. She didn't have time to put on her glasses.
Now, wait a
And
second.
here's another guess. She probably honestly thought that she saw the boy kill the father. I say she only saw a blur.
How do you know what she saw? You don't know what kind of glasses she wore? Maybe she's farsighted. What do you know about it?
I know the woman's eyesight is now in question.
He is right. She had to identify a person 60 feet away in the dark with no glasses.
You can't send a boy off to die in evidence like that.
Oh, don't give me that.
Don't you think the woman could have been wrong?
No.
Isn't it possible?
No, it's not possible.
Do you think it's possible?
Yes, I say not guilty.
What about you? You still think the boy is guilty?
Yes, I still believe the boy is guilty. But you know what? I don't care. You smart bastards do whatever you want.
How do you vote?
Not guilty. Do whatever you want.
You lousy son of a bitch. Well, I think he's guilty.
Does anybody else think he's guilty?
No, I'm convinced.
What's the matter with you?
I now have a reasonable doubt.
It's 11 to 1.
Well, what about all the other evidence? That stuff with the knife and all the other business.
You said we could throw out all the other evidence.
You're alone.
I don't care if I'm alone. I have a right.
Oh, you have the right.
Well, I told you, I think he's guilty. What more do you want?
Your argument?
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We'd like to hear him again. We've got all the time it takes.
Everything. Every single thing that came out of that courtroom. I mean, everything says he's guilty. Do you think I'm an idiot or something? You lousy bunch of bleeding hearts. You're not going to intimidate me. I've got a right to my opinion. I could stay in this goddamn room for a year. Will somebody say something? Well, why don't you take the old man who lived in the downstairs apartment and heard everything? Or take the knife. What, because he found one like it? The old man was right there and saw him on the stairs. What's the difference how many seconds it took? What's the difference? Every single thing, the knife falling through a hole in his pocket. You can't prove he didn't get to the door. Sure, you can huddle around this room all you want, but you can't prove it. Every single thing that was said in there has been twisted and turned in here. Take the business with the glasses. How do you know she didn't have them on? The woman testified in court. Well, that's the whole case. That's it. What do you want? The old man heard the kid scream. The phrase was, "I'm going to kill you." That's what he said to his own father. "I'm care what kind of a man he was. It's his father. Goddamn rotten kid, I know him. What they're like, what they do to you, how they kill you every day. My God, don't you see? Why am I the only one who sees? Jesus, I can feel that knife going in.
It's not your boy. It's somebody else. Let him live.
All right, not guilty.
We now have a verdict.
Okay, everybody in the jury box.